Hi, my name is Ming Chang, but people call me Cece. I'm 22, I'm from Vietnam, and I've been living in the Netherlands for the past 4 years. I came from Hanoi actually, born and raised, and lived there for 18 years.
Why did you came here?
I came here to study. I don't know why here specifically. Also, I think it was financially beneficial to go here instead of going to the US. Like, I've always wanted to study abroad instead of studying in Vietnam. Also, because my mindset is more open minded, I guess, and here was like the perfect place for it. My dad worked in an international company, so a news company. So he also endorsed both me and my sister studying abroad rather than staying in Vietnam. Also has to do a lot with politics and corruption in Vietnam that kind of um, encourages my dad to encourage me and my sister to study abroad.
And you said that you have a really open mind
Yeah.
compared to Vietnamese
We,
mindset. And
yeah.
how does it come? Where do you think it comes from?
I think it comes from watching a lot of Disney and Western movies and all of that, um, and listening to music as well. And I think it also comes from the fact that like I'm naturally born rebellious, so getting tattoos and piercings and all of that is not something that's like very widely accepted in Vietnam. I feel like I need to kind of like get out and be somewhere I'm more accepted in that sense.
So you didn't really feel accepted in Vietnam?
Yeah, not really like accepted. I can't really find a word for it. Like I feel like it's also my culture, it's also my people that I love, but at the same time, they are not, yeah, accepting of the things that are radical or just like against the traditional things that you normally see. I think it's also because we have like rich tradition and it's beautiful traditions that we have, but also it's rooted in the sort of gender hierarchy that we have that devalues women and worship men kind of and places men in higher positions than women. That leads to the sort of values that are outside the norms being less less accepted and less not viewed as and viewed as negative in that sense.
We also saw an article about you on phonics. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
It
So
wa-
when did it happen?
yeah.
A long time ago?
I think that interview I did with Funx was like the first interview I did in 1 year before, like, because 1 year before that, I came out with my stories about sexual harassment. And, that was the time when it really caught the media's attention somehow. And I did like a whole bunch of interview. And most recently, Funx reached out to me and they said, Rutgers, am I pronouncing it correctly? Yeah, it's like the Center for Sexual Harassment in the Netherlands is doing this campaign about victim blaming, and they want to write an article about that. And that's how they reached out to me to uh, collect like what I feel about this, my experience, and also from another girl who's also a victim of sexual harassment. But I don't mind retelling it because like it's best for me to tell it myself instead of like letting other people like lead my narrative. So it happened 3 years ago. Oh, yikes. I think 2017. Oh, 3 years ago. It happened 3 years ago with a friend that I trusted. And I was sleeping over at his place, and I was sleeping when he molested me in my sleep. And I struggled for a year to like deal with it because he also promised that he would move school and stop like being in my face. But we went to the same study, and that's why I kept seeing him, and my trauma kept getting triggered, and that led me to filing a report to the police. And then that also took very long for the legal process to um, take place. And then when the petition happened, it was because I was forced to be in class with him on a mandatory class that there's no way to get out of. I contacted school about this. I told them my story, and they said, there's nothing we can do for you. You have to be in the same class with him, because the same hallway, the same lecture hall with him, because it's a mandatory class. There is nothing we can do. We cannot record the audio or the video of the lecture for either of you. You just both have to attend it. And that's when I decided to make the petition. And after the petition got a certain amount of signatures, I don't remember how many, the school turned around and said, okay, we'll record the lectures for him. And that also took a long time for them to like turn around and like make another decision like that. Yeah.
I feel like you had a really like a lack of support from the school. Like how did you feel about that?
It was really horrible. I feel like lack of support is an understatement. They were directly going against me. That's what I felt. Because a year after, I also contacted the the study coordinator about it, about how I would not want to be in a same classroom with him, because you remember, like, in the second year we have to register for our same class, and you never know who you end up in the class with. And that was so stressful to me, to like for every semester register and having to lose sleep because I don't know if I wake up tomorrow, I check the class list and I see his name there along with mine. I contacted them and they didn't provide much support. And when I felt like they were really going against me, when Ade and the media kind of like picked it up, and it sort of like painted them in a bad light about how badly they handled the situation, that they tried to silence me and didn't provide me with like the help that I need, like deliberately on purpose. Yeah. So it's kind of sucked. I woke up that moment and I just like froze. I was like, oh, okay. And I just kind of like moved my body a little bit, but he just kept like going on, And at that point I felt like violated. It just felt like really terrifying of a feeling. And I didn't sleep until like morning. It was like in the middle of the night and I just like didn't sleep until morning. And the next morning I didn't say anything when we woke up, and I just like packed my things and go. And the silence that morning was like really awkward. And the whole day I was trying to like process what happened, like why I felt so terrified, why I felt so violated, why it felt so disturbing. And I talked to my closest friend about it. And he told me, like, dude, you were molested, like stay away from that guy. And then it hit me really hard to hear the word molested. Also to like know that this happened to me, and so yeah, that's what I felt initially. It took me, I think, more than half a year to finally tell my mom about it, and I never talked to my sister about it, nor my dad. My dad just kind of like vaguely knew what happened, and my sister also knew it from my mom, because it's easier to talk to women about these things. But it was not easy to talk to my mom at all. And I kept it from her for a long time. And I talked to my best friend, like I said, and then I also talked to other friends about it. Most of the support I got were from friends, because I feel like the younger generation is more aware of the issue and they're more understanding than the older generation when it comes to sexual harassment and sexual abuse.
And where do you think is misunderstanding between your parents and you?
I think it goes pretty deep. I think it goes back to the point about society in Vietnam valuing men more than women, and always trying to police women in what they wear and how they dress and what they do in public. kind of like restraining them to express themselves in that matter. And I think that kind of like trọng nam khinh nữ kind of like mindset that is so ingrained in my parents' mind that even though they love me, they had that kind of urge to like blame me for what happened. And I like, the older I grow, the more I understand where they come from, but still it's kind of like unacceptable a thing to think that way, to like blame your own daughter on what happened to her, no matter how much you love her.
What did they tell you?
Well, my dad didn't say anything because, again, like, men find it hard to talk about sexual harassment, which makes sense because most of the sexual abuse and sexual harassment are caused by men. It's more of a man problem, and them staying silent about it make it even a more toxic issue. But what my mom said again was like, is it because how you dress? And like, because my parents were also close to his parents because we were the only two kids from that school who went to this study together, and that and then the group a sort of kind of relationship to like, you know, check on the kids, how they're doing abroad, and, you know, if one of them need anything, then you have each other. And my mom was like, my mom was like questioning me before I told her what happened. She was like constantly questioning me about why I didn't talk to him anymore, and why, you know, why I'm like not helping him out and all of that. And she thought it was because I was assimilating to the Western culture so much, and I tried to stay away from Vietnamese people as a way to like abandon my roots. I'm like, Mom, that's not it. And that was like also how she like reacted to this, like, but he was so nice to you, what happened? And it made me feel like she didn't really understand that it was his fault.
What about now? You were a few years further. If you talk to your mom about it again? Or?
Not so much. We did talk about it again like a few months ago when I told him I want to do my master in human and gender rights and gender conflicts. And I told him like I want to do this specifically because of what happened to me. And my mom and my dad's attitude was kind of more like, it's because you know, if you are, I don't know how to, like, how I interpret it is that, you know, ngu si hưởng thái bình, like, if you're ignorant, if you pretend you don't know, then you have a peaceful life. But if you, like, fixate your mind on something too much, then that's what, you know, is gonna stress you out. So they were kind of like avoidant of the conversation pretty much. Yeah.
And how do you feel about it?
I feel like it's not the way you can tackle social issues. Like, staying ignorant is a privilege. Like, they're only saying that because, you know, my dad, of course, is a straight man living in a society, and we're like a second class family, and we don't really in Vietnam there's not much, you know, racism or like overt racism going on for them to, you know, be aware of why we need to actively be against sexism and racism. And yeah, I feel like I know they love me, but it still hurts for them to not understand where I come from with this kind of passion that I want to contribute to fighting against sexism and misogyny. If another person experienced something like I did, I would definitely reach out to them. And, you know, because it's specifically hard when you are in a place that it's so isolated from your friends and your parents. Like, you're abroad in the country on your own in a foreign country, and you don't speak the language. And especially in the Vietnamese community, we don't talk a lot about sexual harassment. And I don't know, I just tell her that, or him or them, that it takes time. For me, it took time to understand why things are the way it is, why people are not supportive of me, why my own culture, where I thought would be, you know, would be a shoulder that I can rely on is not supportive. Like, it's not their fault, but it's more like we have to educate them, and it's a lack of education, and they're not really mean, or they're not really to blame. And that also, you know, we're not alone. Like, you may feel alone, but it's because not many people talked about it. We've been silenced for so long. And it takes time for people to understand. But always there are people who understand, who have been in a situation like you, so you're never alone.